Starship. Santana. The Grateful Dead. Tina Turner and Mick Jagger, they all have one thing in common: Bill Graham. Bill is one of the most powerful and feared men in the music industry, presiding over a $150 million a year empire. An empire he created out of nothing.
I was 35 when I started in this business. So there was a degree of failure prior to that. Of how do I express myself? How am I going to make my mark? So I never lose sight of the good fortune of what the 60s meant to me, because they gave me an outlet for whatever it is that I do.
If you're going to San Francisco.
What Bill does all started when he came to San Francisco in the 60s. He was a street-smart New Yorker surrounded by blissed-out flower children. So he started organizing gigs for the musicians he met on the street. Those friendships became the foundation for Bill's phenomenal career.
The early relationships here with members of the Starship and Carlos. Carlos and I just celebrated our 20th anniversary management relationship. And the relationship with the Grateful Dead, we've been 22 years now doing all their shows here. My kids are friends with their kids.
Bill's long friendships with the bands and his warm relationship with his son David seem at odds with his reputation for being tough and intimidating.
I can now describe Intimidation as the only thing I have left with my oldest son, because he's 6'3" and he whips my ass pretty good on the court. And the only thing remaining is Intimidation. Intimidation is a positive tool. I mean, it's a tool used towards hopefully positive goals. As the years go by, there's less and less of that, because the relationship with artists and with the public, I think, improves.
The man with no control, would you welcome, please, Eddie Money? I can't see where I'm going.
Bill's relationships with the artists are the main reason he gets the really big events. The US Festival, Live Aid, and the Peace Concert in Moscow were all shows that only Bill could do. But the secret behind his ability to pull off the big gigs is his fanatically dedicated and loyal staff.
I'll tell you, if it's daytime, the band might like to take the helicopters just because it's fun. You know?
We're very fortunate that I got lucky some years ago and found my métier, so to speak. Found something to my liking that I enjoyed, and I also seem to be successful at. And through the years, we've been able to bring on people who start as stagehands. They change light bulbs, they work in the kitchen, they start placing ads, and now 10, 15 years later, they're heads of production, stage managers, help us run management, help us run the artists' careers. Going into the event, he knew that people were buying tickets.
Those artists' careers stare down at you from every wall of Bill's office. But most of his priceless collection of rock memorabilia was lost when an arsonist set fire to his old office.
The material that we lost that is not replaceable represents this company. And it took me a long time to try to find out how do you express that loss, because it has nothing to do with the dollar. And if I imagine that if I were a woman, it's a creative rape of sorts. This is our art. This is our work. We are not artists, but we deal with the artists, and this is our statement. If 20 years ago somebody said, "What do you do for a living?" I would try to talk to you about what. I said, well, now I was able to say, well, read some of the stuff on the walls and how people relate to what we do for a living beyond just putting the artists on stage.
It's a statement that represents more than 2 decades of hard work, putting on concerts for literally hundreds of millions of people. Bill Graham, Prince Impresario, the king of rock and roll. And when you enter his domain, you'd better not forget it.
You just have to convince me that your way is right, or better all around. And if it is, I'll do it. If it isn't, you're going to do it my way, because I'm the boss.
Sunshine, rock and roll, and the 4th of July. For the first time, American music is echoing off the Kremlin walls. Lenin may be turning in his tomb, but the people of Moscow are dancing in the streets. This concert marks the end of an unprecedented 450-mile peace march from Leningrad to Moscow, an historic event that brought Americans and Russians closer together than ever before.
Если мы будем больше встречаться, значит...
If we meet more often, then we'll get to know each other better. And if we know each other better, well, then we will live in friendship.
Потому что я люблю музыку, люблю танцы, люблю когда много народу.
Because I love music, I love dancing, I love crowds.
Мы все за мир, мы хотим мира.
We're all for peace. We want peace.
These people are no different than we are. They have the same dreams, ambitions. They too want the same thing we want, peace.
The theme was peace, but producing the event was more like waging a war. Every piece of stage equipment had to cross the Iron Curtain. Bill Graham and his elite team of commando roadies had to negotiate every detail, especially the security plans. Bill's one non-negotiable rule was that there be no weapons, no uniforms. But a half hour before showtime, 500 Soviet soldiers marched in wearing blue jumpsuits and blocked off half the field. Bill told them, move the soldiers or no show.
We had great difficulty making them understand that we will not play. I don't think they believed that we would blow 650, 700 grand under those. And I said, but that's why we came here, to open this up. That's why we put the volleyball courts out and the basketball courts, to create an air of esprit, a free-spirited situation. And it wasn't until and the marches were outside, the peace marches. It wasn't until I turned to Peter, our stage manager, and I just went through one of those scenes, that's it, basta, no more, I can't seem to get it across. We're going home, we're striking the equipment. And then Peter went over and I pointed across the stage, strike the equipment, we're going home. And when they saw us taking the mics down, that was the turning point.
Bill got his way. The security guards moved and the show went on. American musical legends like James Taylor, Bonnie Raitt, and the Doobie Brothers played to an interested but sometimes passive crowd. While they are mostly unknown here, the star of the show, Carlos Santana, is as famous in Moscow as he is in San Francisco.
Well, in San Francisco they celebrated the Golden Gate, but that's nothing compared to this. This is the real bridge between American people and the Russian people. This is progress. It's a very divine purpose, peace purpose. But most of all, is music is the universal language, and it's about harmony and trust and joy and things like that. So this is very significant.
Russian rock groups such as Autograph played in between the American groups. It is the first time musicians from both countries have shared a stage.
About halfway through this concert, you can tell that the Russian members of the audience still aren't quite sure what they're supposed to be doing. All of this is still a new experience for them.
But if you can and you look at the seats, you'll say, why isn't everybody up moving around and dancing like they do in the American concerts? Because this is fairly new to them. And before, all of their concerts were held inside. And inside, they were not allowed to get up. They were not allowed to dance. It was against the law. This is a totally new thing to them.
By the time Santana hit the stage, the Russians had learned how to rock and roll. The Soviets' first open-air concert tested the limits of the new openness, but it also proved that anything is possible. For the show's finale, all the musicians came together, and the multinational jam had a distinctly joyous flavor.
I just can't understand why we didn't have concerts like this before. I just hope that after this concert, shows like this will catch on in this country.
I'm just very grateful to be here. This is a very, very significant concert. It's something that is way overdue.